4 months and 3 days since the Right Honourable and Learned Gentleman, the member for Rushcliffe, was elected to this House, and he has remained a member of this House throughout that period of time. It's a quite remarkable state of affairs.
Anyway, Mr. Speaker, are you prepared to indulge me for a second question, a follow-up question to the Leader of the House, because of the great situation? Can I just say to my right honourable friend, my long-standing preference for Britain to be a member of the European Union has nothing to do with my question, and I do propose to vote for the second reading of the bill, and I will vote for the third reading of the bill when we get there. The question is accelerated procedures. It depends. Why are they so accelerated? They're just 2.5 hours. Not sitting on Friday is not a way of accelerating the procedures. It's a way of abbreviating them. And unless we're prepared to contemplate more expansive debate, there's not the slightest possibility of considering the deal that has been obtained within the time available.
What's called the privilege of being the father of the House. It's otherwise utterly disorderly. The Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I said that you and I both enjoyed the sound of our own voice, but we are mere amateurs compared to my right honourable learned friend.
Luciana Berger.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Further to the very important question that was asked by the honourable member from Aberdeen North, the Leader of the House didn't want to answer the question, but when the Brexit Secretary was asked on television over the weekend whether whether impact analyses and economic analyses of the deal had been done, he didn't deny the premise of the question. He just said they hadn't been done yet, not that they wouldn't be done yet. So will the Leader of the House tell us when we should expect to receive these very important analyses?
Well, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I have a low opinion of these analyses, that you get any economist to say what you've asked them to say in the first place. I spent my professional career looking at these analyses, and not one of them was ever right.
Mike Word.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Leader of the House not think it would be a little strange if some of those members and parties who had dismissed this deal before it had even been published were now to complain that there was insufficient time to scrutinise it?
Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend wins the prize for best question of the day. There is nothing more I can add to that.
Paul Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the House confirm to the House today that if the bill is successfully amended at the various stages, perhaps it could involve a customs union provision, or perhaps indeed passing the deal subject to a public confirmatory referendum, that the Government will respect those decisions by the members of this House and will see the bill through to conclusion as amended?
Mr. Speaker, as with the 1972 European Communities Act, this Act will have to ratify the treaty to be an effective ratification of the treaty for it to come into effect.
Charlie Elphick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Leader not think it's a bit rich that the members of this House who voted for the emergency procedure to be used for the surrender bill to pass it in a day through this House should now come to this House and say, oh, but we need more time to discuss this deal? They like it when it suits them, and they don't like it when it doesn't, because what they're trying to do is to subvert democracy and subvert the democratic will of the British people.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for his question. He says, is it a bit rich? It is as rich as Jersey cream.
It's on break.
3rd of September, the Leader suggested that MPs on this side of the House were risking subverting Parliament's scrutiny role. Exactly how many minutes scrutiny will we be getting for each page of his bill?
Mr. Speaker, we've had 3 years. He can do the calculation. 3 times 365 times 24. He'll get the answer.
Lady Herman.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the House will know that the Prime Minister's new Brexit deal has very far-reaching consequences for the people of Northern Ireland. I would very much like the Prime Minister, or indeed the Leader of the House, to come to Northern Ireland and explain in detail to the people of Northern Ireland why they only deserve 3 days consideration of the major changes to them and how this bill will affect their futures. I think that's a decent and honourable thing to do.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And may I thank the Honourable Lady for all she does to be a voice for the people of Northern Ireland in this House and the contribution that she makes, because it is of fundamental importance that we always remember we are a United Kingdom, and the effects on Northern Ireland are important within this proposed legislation. I would be, in principle, delighted to accept her invitation, but I'm not sure that the Secretary of State will want me to, because it's his bailiwick. But I would be absolutely honoured to visit Northern Ireland, and it would be a pleasure to return there.
Oh, bailiwick is an excellent word. The leader and I share an affection for it. Mr. Patrick Grady.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad the Leader of the House has been able to contain himself on the bench right the way through all of these questions. Unlike the Father of the House, I fully intend to vote against the second reading and, for that matter, the third reading. And having not had the courtesy of sight of a draft programme motion through the usual channels, I wonder if you could inform the House whether there will be protected time for the third reading debate, so that those of us who do want to make every effort to stop Brexit on behalf of our constituents who voted against it will have that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Time will be made for the third reading in the normal way, according to the programme motion, which the House will have the chance to vote on tomorrow.
Thank you. Order. Statement. The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Minister Michael Gove.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'd like to make a further statement on our preparations to leave the European Union on the 31st of October. But before I do, can I underline the